One of the things about this record is that it's not available on traditional streaming platforms right now. It's not on Spotify, it's not on Apple. We had to listen to it on YouTube. So Billie Joe Armstrong of Green Day has a couple of side project bands. He does like Foxborough Hot Tubs. I think he has another one, and then he also had Pinhead Gunpowder. And in the springtime, March 30th of 1999, they released an EP called Shoot the Moon. The reason that I know about that EP is odd because I was looking up Voodoo Glow Skull stuff. That's how I first found Shoot the Moon way long time ago. I don't remember what I was on, but it was on the computer. I didn't find it on like at a store or anything. I found it like online. Might have been through like LimeWire or something. And I was building like mixtape CDs. I didn't even like it a ton back then. I liked it okay, but it was kind of like, oh, okay. And then on to the next. Back then I was not a really big Green Day fan. So that would probably be why I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. And it had already been out for some years by then too. This is in like the early 2000s, like my early 20s. But I rediscovered it a few years ago, and then I rediscovered it like recently, and just like I forgot about this, and I really liked it a lot. So, okay, I'm gonna read because the Wikipedia is really short on this. So it says, "Shoot the Moon" is the fourth EP by American punk rock band Pinhead Gunpowder. It was released on March 30th, 1999 through Adeline Records, which is substantial. Adeline Records is Billie Joe Armstrong's record label, also known for dropping stuff from One Man Army, a band everybody that's familiar with this channel knows that I love. It was re-released on CD and vinyl through Recess Records in February of 2010, and then again on vinyl in 2022 from 1234 Go Records, which is where I rediscovered it. Like the second rediscovery of this was from that label. I believe the one that I've got is probably from that label even. One of the things about this record is that it's not available on traditional streaming platforms right now. It's not on Spotify. It's not on Apple. We had to listen to it on YouTube. It's only 12 minutes in length. I think it's like 5 or 6 songs. Let's see. How many songs was it? 7. Okay, never mind. 7 songs. But they are all fairly short. Yeah, I don't know. So, okay. Being as that this wasn't on a traditional streaming platform, that makes it a little harder to get to and listen to. How'd you feel about this album, Rob? And did you like it at all, or had you heard it before?
Yeah, I hadn't heard. I knew of it. Like I knew of the concept of the band, but never really had given it a chance. So I listened to this, and then I kind of just poked around their stuff. It is exactly as it's kind of advertised. It's like if Green Day never became a pop band, what would they kind of sound like? And this is about pretty close to it, because it sounds a lot like Green Day, but just a little bit more. I don't know if you'd say stripped down necessarily, because even like the early Green Day was like a little bit slower. This has like the pace of Green Day that you're used to, but it sounds just more like a rock band in the way in a more traditional like kind of sense. It almost sounds like these songs could have been are almost songs that eventually Green Day would whip into almost other style of songs. You can definitely see that this was a spot with a little bit different style musically. It's not as like cute as like Billie would make a Green Day song. It's a little more of just like a thicker sound, and I really like it. And it's got that it's got like a playfulness to it.
It does.
That
the
really
melody is in it.
That kind of like that pop punk kind of feel that even Green Day's music doesn't necessarily always have. Green Day's music is a little bit like darker and
sometimes
and
it gets
intense.
dark. Yes.
Yeah, this one's a little bit peppier. A little. It's like if Green Day was a Ramones core band, might be the better way to put it. That's exactly what this sounds like.
The word that came to mind when you started talking was unrefined. It's like a Green Day track or a Green Day EP that's kind of unrefined. And I would say that the major difference to me that I heard in this and say a Green Day album, the drums. The drums are the major difference that I heard. The songs are written as well. The vocals are just as good. The lyrics are just as catchy. It's a little poppier to some degree. but the drums, they're more simple. They're not as intricate. They're not as heavy.
Yeah, these songs aren't as epic generally than the way the Green Day song.
Sure, yeah,
and
yeah.
the drums are a big part of that, like that, almost like that
Correct.
jungle type of playing of Trey Cool is not there. Where this is more of just again like a Ramon style drum that just kind of goes with serves the song more so than leads the song. And they're a 4-piece, right? So the music is a little more crowded than
a little thicker,
what you would have on Green Day. And I think like Green Day very like self-consciously makes songs like with a certain certain things in mind and certain little like kind of tricks that they pull to really pull those out. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I mean, they make great songs, but again, this is almost what you would assume. Like you could see Billie coming to like the studio with these songs, as we said earlier, and then giving them to the rest of the guys, and they would have a Green Day. So I do like that it exists, though. It's cool to just see that side of Billie and how he could go in that direction, because as time goes on, he's probably going to be thought of more as this great pop singer and this great pop star, but he really has this side to him and does it really, really well.
If you look up photos from this album or from this era of them, he looks more like a punk rocker too. Like this is definitely early Billie Joe, like angsty, not quite sure what direction he wants to go in, keeping this band alive because they were doing stuff for quite a while Green Day was still blowing up. I wrote down a few things. I'm going to read them off real quick. It won't take long because there wasn't a lot to talk about. The songs are all very quick. I put on the first song, Cabin Girl, is almost a rockabilly or lagwagon intro and verse. Then there are heavy Green Day influences on the chorus. Great little solo and bridge. This one ends with a sweet little acoustic outro. My boot in your face is what keeps me alive. I can hear some of what Billie Joe would eventually do in Father of All Mothers in this song. He wears his influences proudly. This one screams early Green Day, but without as good a drummer. Oof, I don't mean to be disrespectful. That did sound pretty disrespectful. My apologies. Then Asheville, a very familiar punk rock melody. I love this song. This EP is so good. A glimpse into what maybe he would have written if he had joined Rancid. This has some similarities, to Let's Go, but quite a bit poppier. On Junk Pile, there's some recycled melodies at the beginning, but I like it. I hear a little Offspring in that song. 27, early Green Day, off maybe Dookie sounds in this one, especially with Billie being the vocalist. That 90s Billie Joe snarl is actually really great. Then with Kathleen, we have more of the same melody at the beginning of this one. When the chorus switches it up pretty good and adds a harmonica, it's almost like they wanted this entire project to be listened to all the way through, kind of like The Decline, but with track names instead of just one long song. Aiken to be more of the Lagwagon meets Iron Chic, great poppy rock and roll punk. I can hear some Lucero type stuff in the guitar as well. And then I wrote a little note at the bottom. I put one of the rare projects that I hear, and then when it's over with, it was too fast. This was the first project I'd heard from Pinhead Gunpowder, and it's probably the reason I like them so much. I love the production, the songwriting, even though it gets a little repetitive at times. Even that is super catchy and a melody that I enjoy. The dual vocal duties make this really nice to listen to, and even the drummer's deficiencies appeal to me. I'm glad I wrote that down. This is an 8.5 out of 10 for me. If there were maybe 2 more songs and a little more variety, it would have gotten a straight up 10. That was my actual just little review of it.
And it's nice too because it's you can kind of get in and out with it pretty easy. Like as far as an EP, it goes quick because like you said, the songs are poppy and peppy and they're fun to listen to. It's just an enjoyable listen.
Really is.
It's one of those things that I don't know that I would necessarily listen to on like regular rotation. Like it really doesn't move me in that way. It's more something that I would like to just be reminded of. And then and then go back and listen. And be like, oh yeah, this was really good. This was a really cool side of Green Day, which is kind of how I view it. I know it's only one member of the band, but I view it as sort of a side, not a side project, and so they do
like an offshoot.
But just like a perspective of Green Day almost, or like almost like a different Green Day lens is kind of how I ultimately sort of see this project.
I do like this band enough to put it in regular rotation. I like Green Day, and over the last few weeks, I've listened to Green Day Dookie so much that I think my opinion has shifted back to quite enjoying that album. I used to not really like it much because it had these weird memories attached to it, right? These feelings. But I think I've listened to it so much that I'm also starting to remember other things that were positive from that era of my life. A lot of my life back then was pretty dark. he's got a number of side projects. I would say that this is probably the most notable. I want to hear Foxborough Hot Tubs. I've never listened to them, but I hear that they sound like Father of All quite a bit. And I listened to that album earlier this week too, just to kind of get a feel for like the comparisons that I was making in my head.
Mm.
I love that album, dude. Like, I don't see how anybody could that likes Saviors can outright hate Father of All. Now, I'm not saying that they're the same thing, but I'm saying that if I could probably pick out 3 songs minimum off of Father of All and let somebody that's not super familiar with Saviors go, hey, what album is this off of? They'd probably say Saviors. People that aren't into the band, I could probably play them side by side and people would say, yeah, it sounds very similar. So you can see where they were headed with that album is my point, is that Saviors is probably what it is because of that album, because it's got a lot of it in there. And I'm saying all that because this album reminds me of some of the Father of All music. Like, it's got this like much more lighthearted. A lot of their music is dark. A lot of it's big and grand as well. You don't think of Green Day as an operatic band very often, but they really are.
Mm-hmm.
They're big and they're grandiose. They have these crazy songs sometimes, especially with American Idiot. They did this.
Yeah, they just found a way to make pop punk grandiose. Like that's sort of the genius of Green Day. They figured out how to make pop punk into basically arena rock and how to and do that. And this is that element kind of not there.
Right. And so that's what I liked about that album, Father of All, is that it's just in and out real quick. And there's a lot of parallels is my only point. I don't mean to like trash anything. I wasn't trying to do that at all. I just this gives me a similar feeling, a very positive vibe, lighthearted in nature. That's really what it is. You nailed it with that. This is it's positive. It doesn't feel negative at all. There's no dark, the tone, it doesn't shift. It's an EP. It's in and out. It's only 13 minutes. So it's like, it doesn't have time to get really intricate with its feelings. You know, there's no therapy sessions in this record. It's more like straightforward pop punk rock and roll. Not a lot to talk about with it either, really.
No, but I'm glad we brought it up and maybe brought some awareness to it. Maybe some people will check it out.
I do think that's kind of what I was aiming for. Is I wanted to just kind of celebrate the album for a few minutes, talk about it for a minute, jump back in and listen to it again for a few minutes, because there's a lot of records that we love that we like. There's a lot of records we like. We don't even love them. We like them. But over the years, they get lost in the shuffle, man. It's hard. It's really hard to keep up with all this stuff. It's so much work.
And I think it's gotten harder over the years because, like, if you had one of these EPs, and you just like, you were tired of whatever else you were listening to, so you went to it. Nowadays, the way we consume this stuff, man, whatever you absolutely like is right in front. Like, every time I open my phone, it's, Bad Religion or the Descendants or Rancid. It kind of actually, even though there's like the Discover the New One tab, it really actually doesn't facilitate that. It's more that I kind of keep listening to the same stuff over and over and over again.
Oh, that whole Discover this new stuff thing is so not helpful. I mean, okay, I don't want them to take it away. My point is that I very rarely indulge in it. I don't either. Yeah. I'd rather listen to Outcome the Wolves again, or or some old classic punk album.
I'm more like look at it to see, okay, if there's new stuff out, maybe I'm gonna go check that out. But
is it an old band putting out new stuff?
Yeah, I do that. Like, oh Joe Shoe, okay, they're still around, cool. It's kind of how I look at it, and it is natural because we get lazy, because. Oh yeah, we're gonna like the stuff that's comfortable, that's familiar to us, that we don't have to think of. Okay, which one do I want to go check out? And I think like albums like these ones, like we've talked about the last couple of weeks, they're albums that you have because you literally have, and they kind of get into, and you might not even memorize all the little parts. That's the other thing. Now we can listen to stuff over and over and really, and you listen to it and you remember like those parts every time you listen to it. Like, okay, yes, this is where that part comes in. And it's a really, really lost art, and that's why I'm glad again that we bring up some of these albums, especially one like this that literally only exists in physical form officially.
Yep, I mean I was glad that I find it on YouTube because it is kind of a pain in the butt to listen to, but I like it. It gives it a little bit of I couldn't remember the word I was looking for earlier, but it gives it makes it a little special to me that it's something that we only have if we work to find it. Mm-hmm. It's not something that we can just I do like that. It has got pros and cons. Let's be honest, but I think that the pros are make it a little bit special, in my personal opinion.
Oh yeah,
Because I like the fact that you have to work towards something. It's just like listening to a record versus listening to a playlist. I like to do that because it takes a little bit of work for me to do it, to get to it.
in our case, the hard work was getting off of the Spotify app and onto the YouTube app. So that was a real.
I mean, it was incredibly taxing.
Yeah, that one.
I
Really
had to I had to think for about a second and a half. I don't like doing that.
No. Well, you know me. I like to have multiple distractions going at all times, so I couldn't watch the YouTube video as I was listening to something. Now,
It's I just yes. I mean, it's still very easy to digest or ingest rather. Excuse me. But I know people that wouldn't get off of Spotify to find another good record on YouTube. I know people like that.
That's just where they get their music from, and that's it. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm looking for a note that I wrote down. I can't find it, so I guess it's just lost. Oh well, whatever. Yeah, dude. Pinhead Gunpowder, Shoot the Moon. I think 8.5 for me personally is a great numbered grade for that because it represents exactly how I feel about it. I do think if there's a little more variety and a little more length, I would have given it a flat out 10 because I really enjoyed it. What kind of grade would you give that album?
Yeah, probably about that 7 or 8 range.
Yeah.
Not really thinking about what it would compare to that it would have that same kind of score, but just if I give it, like, I listen to it and give it a thumbs up, and yeah, that was pretty much right in the zone of stuff I like. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, how do you feel about Weezer? We've talked about that a little bit.
Complex thoughts on them, to be honest with you.
I think maybe we'll reserve that for another day. Weezer's Blue album just turned, I think 30, maybe 25, but I think 30.
Yeah, it probably sounds like 30 because that'd be like early 90s. So I want to say.
Yeah, on the 10th it turned 30 years old. I didn't get an opportunity to do a live stream because I was dealing with some other stuff, but
yeah, we should dedicate some time to that. That feels like worth talking about.
So next week we're doing Blink-182's Enema of the State, and what was the other one?
The Donnas.
The Donnas, was it Turn 21?
I think so. The one they came out with in '99, which
was
it Grown Up maybe, or
yeah, we'll figure it out.
Never saying the same thing, but yeah.
I know, right? But they have all their albums sound like they all have similar names like that. Do you want to do Weezer instead of the Donnas, or would you like to do Donna still?
I really want to do that Donna segment because that one's important.
Okay,
we could push the Weezer back. Weezer doesn't really need the time stamp on there, I think, as much because it's more of because we're not. I don't think we're going to talk about necessarily everything. I mean, we'll talk about the album quite a bit, but I think the impact of Weezer, because they're so adjacent to the music that we talk about a lot. So I think we need to talk about like their impact.
Well, that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it at some point. So. What about the week after? We'll dedicate a little bit of time to Weezer's Blue album.
Yeah, that'll be good.
All right, I'll come up with something for the first half of that video next couple of days, and we'll have that week will be planned out too.
That'll be a fun one to put back. Speaking of the rotations on the
I haven't listened to that in a long time. I'm kind of itching to hear it. Was why I brought it up.
I've never let's talk about an album I've never streamed. Like I had the Blue album back in the day, and never listened to it fairly regularly. I don't think I've ever. I get afraid on my Spotify to like. Weezer can lead you down other, so I don't want to. I never want to mess with my algorithm. So that's the other reason why I don't discover new stuff sometimes. I'm like, no, that's not coming in there. No. If I'm here with doing dishes or something, and I got this stuff playing, I am not letting that crap get through. No. Even though, like, I don't even dislike Weezer, but something that could get associated with Weezer would possibly.
Well, that's the issue. It's not Weezer I'm worried about. It's what they bring with them.
Yeah, the riffraff.
The riffraff, dude.